Welcome to the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Are you doing the best for your client to help them create their legacy? Are you creating a plan that goes far beyond finances to help people ensure that it becomes the driving force behind all decisions? On this podcast, hosts Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller will help you with growing your practice and your clients' peace of mind. Together, they bring the best and brightest minds to share with you how to help your clients develop their best legacy. And now, here are your hosts, Katie Beth and Stan.
Hello, and welcome to the Legacy Leaders Podcast. I'm your guest host, Attorney Adam Diamond, sitting in for Stan and Katie Beth. I am a proud member of the Legacy Leader Network, which is a group of professionals focused on helping families pass on a lasting legacy. I am the owner of Diamond Legal in Northern Illinois. Diamond Legal is your family's law firm, where your future is our focus. We help with things like divorce, custody, wills, trusts, and even real estate closings. But today's episode isn't about me. I have some fantastic guests that are insurance and entrepreneur extraordinaries, Tim and Sally Santos with HealthMarkets Insurance, Santos Agency. Tim and Sally, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So tell me a little bit about your business and who you help.
So HealthMarkets Insurance as a whole is a national health and Medicare insurance brokerage company. Sally and I are 1099s and run our own branch, I suppose, of HealthMarkets Insurance called Santos Agency here in McHenry on Green Street. And we help people who are eligible for health insurance or Medicare find what's their best solution based on their individual needs and their budget. To put it in short, Sally has a very clever catchphrase that she uses. So if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, so we insure people, not things. So we do focus on health insurance, Medicare, dental, vision, and life. It's a very simple way to explain what we do because insurance has many different facets. So I needed to come up with a very simple way to explain that. So we go as far as checking doctors, your prescriptions to make sure that any recommendation made for you is literally made for you as the individual and keeps everything in network and things of that nature.
Wow, that is fantastic. And yes, that catchphrase does help narrow it down. So you mentioned that you're part of a larger network, and I wanted to see if I got it right. So you're part of a larger network, so you have a large amount of resources, but you're able to really provide that boutique service to individuals and families, right?
Yes, that is correct. So we are licensed with all the major carriers in health and Medicare insurance. So we don't represent a single carrier. So it's really what's best for your individual needs and budget. So we have the ability to offer many different programs and represent many different companies in health.
And I think that's important because a lot of families are scared when it comes to this stuff because they get overwhelmed so easily. And they're always afraid that they're going to reach out to someone for help and they're going to say, I sell this one thing and you should buy it because that's what I sell. Whereas what you guys do is much more global and customized. No, what do you need? We have a huge amount of ways we can help you. And I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, and those people do exist. And I think you're going to ask something a little bit about what are the pain points. And so we'll get there. But yeah, the beauty, I think, of what we do is that it's all visual too. So one of the things that makes it hard for an individual going into Medicare or needing to buy their own health insurance is making sure that you're seeing what your options are, but then you're seeing how they compare to one another so that you can see what really is best for you. Because we have the ability to look across carriers and then show that to people, being that we have an in-person model, it really helps take it from all being numbers to being actually a plan that person can see works for them. There's obviously lots of numbers when it comes to insurance and lots of things to understand.
And that's great. That's a great point as well, because like I said, a lot of people quickly glaze over once you mention insurance.
Yes.
And knowing that if it is anything to do with a person, the Santos family can help.
Yeah,
correct. That's a good way to simplify it. So how did you guys end up in this business?
So I'll start with this one. I have a restaurant background. I was managing restaurants for about 18 years. And those types of hours, being a restaurant general manager, nights and weekends and holidays and as me and Sally started to have our family, it took me out of the picture for lots of things that are important to me. And being there for my kids and my wife and my family is important to me. And just came down to being tired of that. And what can I do? We're lucky to have some close friends and peers that are also in our same industry that had recommended that I give it a try and see what happens. I interviewed about 8 years ago this month and was told that if you're willing to work that hard for a restaurant and someone else, I'm sure you'll do it for your own family. And yeah, so here we are 8 years later. Never thought I would be in the insurance industry. All I knew about it before was checking a box. Usually whatever the cheapest plan was to our employer was what we went with, not really even knowing what we're getting. But I tell you what, it's been a lot of fun helping people with something much more important than making sure their food order is correct. This is something that means a whole heck of a lot more to people to make sure that we get right.
And interesting. So I came from the corporate marketing world, and I'm here because of him. And there's a little bit more to that story, but I remember when he came to my corporate office after his interview, I didn't even understand what 100% commission-based meant, or being a 1099, or having your own business. And it's just what we're able to do today, not only from a consumer impact, but a community impact. It blows my mind and just means so much more and is so much more fulfilling than what I used to do. So I actually had the ability to work from home in my corporate marketing career. And it was a snowy day and in November, because it actually snowed in November 5 years ago. And I was in his office, which he had just opened up here on Green Street, where we live today. And I was doing my own thing. And he actually had a customer come in. And we'll get into this story a little bit more, so I'll leave it there. The interaction that they had impacted me so much that I said, and among other things, our growing family and the need to still have that career aspect, but also be there for the kids more, was becoming more of a growing need, where that corporate environment can be crippling depending on how far up you go and how intense your job is. And I was getting there, but seeing this interaction between him and a current client filled my heart so much that I finally said, I'm going to take you up on that offer that you have been giving to me. Tim had been, wanting me to join him for a number of years, seeing what we could do together before I could even see it. And finally, we decided to take the leap. So it was him and seeing the interaction with his clients and the impact and difference that he makes with individuals that made me say, we can do this. And I literally went in and quit my job, gave them 2 weeks, and the rest is history.
Wow. Now, do you guys find that you draw from those prior experiences with your current positions?
All the time. So I'll start with this one. Recently, I was just approached by another HealthMarkets Insurance agent in Colorado who is considering bringing her husband on. And he needs a career change. And she was asking me about it and saying she was nervous about it. Tim and I had a side conversation, and I actually told her we would hire each other any day of the week because we're qualified to do the jobs we do within our business. And that was eye-opening for her to level set and think, could my husband even do this? So because of my corporate marketing background and my ability to understand all of the things regarding marketing and planning and presenting that to Tim, enabled me to come into our business and learn about the business at the same time growing the business and helping him to do that. And I was able to do that because I knew the framework around doing it, right? So the business, you can learn that the framework is the same. And then you tweak and find out what works for your industry. So we absolutely were able to test and learn and determine what worked from a marketing standpoint. Also, my process development. So I was a project manager and was responsible for developing processes that connected a corporate group of 4,000 people from end to end, from sales to market. So again, that was instrumental in our business coming in and being able to say, okay, now there's 2 of us. How do we create a process for our customer that's going to be streamlined and enable us to continue to do this over and over again with just the 2 of us, but also grow? So those were the skills that I brought to the table and that helped our business grow to where it is today.
And from my experience being a restaurant manager for a long time, like under an open enrollment here, sometimes the days are 12 hours or 15 hours or 6 days a week or 7 days a week, or having to take calls during off hours or holidays and things like that. And from the restaurant background, I did that for 18 years. I always had long days, and I always had off hour calls with people and having to problem solve and fix situations. But from a running our own business standpoint, being able to have that understanding of P&Ls and numbers and things like that from my history has enabled us to really understand what we need to do to be successful, how many appointments we need to run. Sally brought a lot of those processes, but really understanding how do we do this in a way that we can support a family while also supporting a community of people and not being like a salesman, but more of an advisor and really advising people on what's best for them versus what's best for us financially. Having a customer service background has definitely been beneficial in that aspect, as I'm always trying to make sure that the customer is happy versus maybe selling them or overselling them on a product to make me financially happy. So yeah, our background is definitely, like she said, and we both came to that realization this past week or so. Hey, outside of being a happily married couple, if we had a now hiring sign on the door, we probably would
hire each other.
Yeah, probably we would hire each other. We're both qualified for our roles in our.
Mm-hmm. And that's, first off, thank you so much for sharing that. But that little tidbit Sally shared is very profound, which is if you're thinking about having your spouse join a business or doing a business together, looking objectively at the skill sets and seeing if they line up is a really good step to think through, instead of saying, we're married, we're in it together, so let's make it work, which can work.
Just because you're compatible on a personal level does not mean that you're compatible on a professional level. There's a lot going on there. That was the first time that we ever thought about that. But that's actually literally what I said to her. If he was not your husband, would you hire him to fulfill the responsibilities you're looking for him to fulfill? Would he be qualified and capable of doing it? Yeah,
that's because, as we know, as entrepreneurs, a lot of things are done or filled by necessity. And it sounds like it's a magical combination with the two of you that it's like, actually, these line up really well.
It does work.
So now, do either of you have any favorite mentors?
Yeah, I'll go first. Back actually, so me and Sally first met when I moved to McHenry in 1998. I was applying for a job at KFC, and she gave me my application there. So that's our first interaction. I'm the new kid in town and looking for a job. But that experience, I worked at KFC for, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 years. And the district manager, being 16 years old, my first real job, she came in and I'm leaning against the counter. And she says, the great Colonel Sanders would say, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. And in the restaurant business, that's absolutely true. There's always something you should be cleaning or stocking or busy work. But I've taken that into, number one, when I left KFC and went to Panera and went to other restaurants, I've always encouraged my employees and managers, there's always something that can be done to better our business. Yeah, there's time for breaks, but what could we be doing? I found that even in this business, that sometimes it's literally cleaning, like we can always sweep and mop our office or straighten up, right? But the real idea is, if you have time, downtime, what can you be doing right now to further your business? Is it another social media post? Is it sharing someone else's? Is it attending a ribbon cutting? Is it reaching out to current clients and just checking in? Is it straightening up some files and maybe looking at some opportunities? There's always something that can be done, especially when you're self-employed, because in most cases, you don't have somebody that's going to do that for you. So when you have downtime, I encourage people to seek something else that they could be doing to move their day forward, their business forward. So if you have time to lean, you have time to clean, still resonates today with me. And that was, again, I was 16 at the time. So yeah, quite a long time ago. And I'll always remember that.
Yeah, what a powerful mentor story. And I think the tidbit there is adopting that to things that are moving the business forward. Because we all understand the elasticity of time and how your day gets filled one way or another. But
it's actually a really good segue into a mentor of mine. I have two. I'll briefly go through the first one, but the mentor of mine in this business that cracked it wide open for me is Tim. And I was struggling with coming from a corporate structured world where there's not a lot of flexibility in your day. It's laid out by your superiors above you, right? And then you execute a plan that's put in front of you. And even if your plan is to create a plan, you're still executing it based off somebody telling you create this plan. As a small business owner and entrepreneur, no one's telling you what's a successful day. Initially coming into the business, I knew what I needed to do. I knew what my role was, right? But I didn't know how to make it happen or what to focus on initially. It's a whole big box and no one's putting you in a circle saying this is what you do today. But there is someone depending on me to execute and fulfill an expectation in a role. But the role was for me to create and execute upon. And I remember a heated conversation that we had, and I was feeling frustrated because I know I wasn't fulfilling what I was supposed to be doing, yet I felt productive, right? So exactly what you're saying. My time is full all day. I'm busy all day. But how come the appointments aren't on the books? That's the job, right? At the root of it, I brought you here to bring them in because that's what you're good at. And I'm good at this piece of it. And so we needed to figure it out. Simply stated, he said to me, do your job. And I know that probably doesn't seem that impactful, but for whatever reason, it opened the light bulb went on. And I'm like, you know what? There's this whole big bucket of things that I can do and that I will do and that I do today. I said do. But initially, my job was call people. Find the people that are our leads, right? The cold calling piece of it. Expose your business. That's what you need to do. Baby steps. Take this big bucket of what you need to do as the marketing person for the Santos Agency and start to break it out. And that is what I did. And it made it a lot easier for me to focus and be productive and determine, what I needed to do in a day. The other big piece of advice I got from my corporate world, and it was active listening. And I'm still working on it, but I'm way better today than I ever was before. So not listening to respond, but listening to actually hear what the person is telling you. And that is instrumental in my job today because that's my job, is to initially talk to the customer, determine what they need, and set a time up for them to come in and talk to Tim. If I'm only thinking about scheduling the appointment, the end goal, I'm not listening to anything that they're saying. And I'm not hearing what their need is and therefore not translating it and setting it up appropriately for when they come in. So 2 big impactful pieces, very simple statements, active listening and do your job.
Wow. Thank you both for sharing those with me. Those are very profound tips. Do you have any funny or fun stories about your business or the people you help?
So I think, so not necessarily about the people we help.
Right. Yeah. Understanding the nature of things.
I would say the funniest thing, and this may not be like how you're going to roll and start laughing because it's not really a joke. It's more funny, ironically funny. Networking, right, is a big part of growing our business, whether it be connecting at a ribbon cutting, going to support somebody's grand opening, literally sitting in a networking meeting, whatever it is. As a homegrown business, we literally are a walking billboard, right? So I have, over the 5 years that I've been working with Tim, developed very quick and easy ways to describe what we do, to talk about how we can help, but it never fails that people that we network with and spend lots of time with will inevitably send us a referral for property. And that is funny to me because we don't insure things, we insure people, but we still get the referrals for property. And the great news is we're well connected with people who can take care of those individuals. But that is always a funny thing to us. And we always have to chuckle a little bit anytime somebody reaches out to us, even like great friends from high school. Hey, I need somebody to take a look at my homeowner's insurance. Can we set up time to do that? I'm like, we don't do that. You follow us on Facebook too. You should know that. So that's a funny part about what we do. But that
Absolutely.
insurance black hole will swallow you up.
That is definitely funny in the ironic sense. So what do you guys, and you answered this already, but it's worth repeating. What do you guys enjoy most about your business?
What I enjoy most and is really helping people on a different level. One of the best compliments and things that we get is when current clients refer people to us and the people come in proud to say, you helped my brother, my sister, my neighbor, and they were delighted to work with you. They said I had to come and see you. And in some cases, it's almost like literally that, like we can't even help them right now, but their neighbor just won't shut up about meeting me and Sally and how we were able to help them. They had to come and see who these people are. So I really enjoy helping people at a level that can be life-changing to them. In some cases we have had, and we'll probably get there, but experiences where when people actually have to use their insurance for some critical things and how thankful that they are that they did come and run into us. So hearing those types of things, I really enjoy. And just, again, being able to help people at a much more important level.
Yeah, I would second that. We come in contact with individuals at a very delicate time in their life. So I feel like what we do actually makes a difference for people. You can love your job, but I get to come into work every day and know that anybody coming into our office is leaving in a better situation than they were when they first started and woke up that morning. That's every day. That feels absolutely amazing. It's not always easy, and the situations are sometimes a very delicate dance, but we're able to either help them by telling them we can't help them, which is helpful, rather than putting them in a situation that doesn't serve them. We're actually able to say, hey, this might be more costly, but it is your better option. Stay with your Cobra, and this is why, or whatever the case may be. So that is awesome. Also, and I know Tim will share this sentiment too, our unlimited access to our community. Our community is like our heartbeat, right? Like we're very invested in the community. We grew up here, we live here, we run our business, we're raising our family. Being able to impact our community is also amazing, and not something that I ever was able to do until we were doing this together.
Wow. That is definitely a lot of positives. In the Legacy Leaders Network, we talk a lot about family legacy planning. How do you see your business helping with family legacies?
What we do as far as helping family legacies is, again, by putting people in the appropriate coverage for their health insurance, their Medicare. We do life insurance as well. We do supplemental insurance that helps with out-of-pocket costs associated with health insurance plans. That really protects family legacies, because in some cases, when the critical illness happens, when the heart attack, the cancer, the stroke, and those types of things occur, number one, we can never plan for it, right? We don't know when it's going to happen, if it's ever going to happen. There's great odds that cancer can occur with many people. I think 1 in 4 people are at risk these days. But when we're able to put a plan in place and somebody, again, at their lowest moment, call and say, hey, do I have that cancer plan in place? Or do I have that heart attack plan in place? Or God forbid, a loved one calls us and says, so-and-so passed away. I know they had life insurance. By being able to protect people's 401ks, their bank accounts, their savings, preventing them from having to maybe sell a property, a home, or something that they intended on leaving to a loved one, a grandchild, or something like that. By being able to protect their out-of-pocket costs with what we do. Again, those are some of the things that I love about our business, that when we're able to really put it all together and see it in action, and in turn protect people's legacies that way, it's very rewarding. Again, at their darkest times, to being able to be some little bit of light during a dark time, we love doing it. I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, that covers it. People go bankrupt over medical bills all the time. Having a trusted advisor who has your back and you're in the right plan and your plan truly works for you can, like Tim is saying, save your family legacy, and that you're not dipping into your whole life insurance policy and your 401k and your savings account to pay for your medical bills or catastrophic situation that occurred.
Yeah, that's huge. What are some of the greatest misunderstandings about your business?
So the biggest misunderstandings really come from the cost of health insurance or Medicare, what it costs like up from a monthly premium standpoint. And what they're getting. So a major misunderstanding that people have is that once I purchase a health insurance plan, that everything is covered, right? And things are covered, but in the insurance world, covered is a term used loosely. So maybe it's covered 50%, maybe it's covered 80% or 70%, or maybe you have to meet a deductible first before then it's covered. What we really try to do is, number one, make sure people understand any programs that are available to them to help them save money on their health insurance or Medicare insurance. That right away gets rid of the misunderstanding of the cost of insurance. Probably 9 out of 10 people that we see have some sort of savings that they were unaware of that they are eligible for. And then secondly, when we put together a plan, we really explain, okay, this is how this plan works. You have X, Y, and Z are covered services from day one. You may need to hit a deductible before this is covered at this point. But the real key here, and it's also protecting the legacies, is when that catastrophic thing occurs, there's a ceiling to what you're going to be responsible for, whether it's $10,000, $15,000, whatever it is. If we can help you understand how your plan works and then add some additional components to protect that out of pocket, that's the misunderstanding is I'm paying so much for my health insurance, everything should be covered, or I can just pay out of pocket because a physical is only a couple $100. That's not what you put insurance in place for. You put insurance in place to protect you from the catastrophic things so you don't lose everything when you're already at your lowest moment. So that's probably the biggest misunderstanding, is really the cost and then just how it all works.
What are some of your greatest successes with the business?
Yeah, so I think overall our business growth has been incredible. So sometimes like that magic chest is locked and then you find the key. And teaming up together to do this opened up a really phenomenal service for our community because of what we provide and the level of integrity that Tim and I operate at. So we just share the same values. Our customers feel that, and that's incredible. I think one of my biggest personal professional goals was to be able to hit the radio and to hear the Santos Agency on our local radio station. Again, we pride ourselves on helping McHenry County. We are licensed in Wisconsin because we have family there, and we are licensed in the entire state of Illinois. But we pride ourselves on being experts, and we live here. So we know the plans, we know the area. McHenry and Lake County is our home, and I really wanted to hear us on the radio. We were able to do that 2 years in together, and we've been able to do it every year. We've been 5 years, so that's 3 years in a row. That's an amazing place to be as a small business owner and entrepreneur. Ad time on the radio costs a lot of money. So to be able to get there is awesome. And then another huge win, I think, again, is our community involvement. So Tim's involvement in the Rise Up Music Festival, which raises money to better our community. Literally everything that comes into that gets put back into some sort of community project. We can drive around and say, hey, kids, we had a direct hand in putting that splash pad there. We had a direct hand in putting the Riverwalk shops there. We have a direct hand in helping our community grow and better itself. And that is so incredible. And that's so exciting and awesome. And then to make a difference in people's lives feels good. And that's what you do. You also come in contact with people at low times too, and you help them so they don't have to worry. It's awesome to have a job like that, to go to work and make a difference in somebody else's life every day, and to know that you're the one. We're doing that. There isn't anybody else here. That's Tim and Sally. To have that satisfaction and fulfillment is awesome. And
just to add to that, so it was recently asked to me regarding our radio advertising and a lot of our marketing stuff that we do is, are you in any fear of the exposure? So some people, you got to have a lot of confidence in what you do if you're going to be on the radio and advertising and saying, hey, you need to come and see us because we're the best there is. A business success would be, when I started this 8 years ago, I wanted to be the McHenry insurance agent guy. There's some peers in our community that have developed their name, and I've always considered as the insurance guys. And Rest in peace. Chris Bimby was one of those guys and a mentor to me. And seeing his name on everything, I wanted things to say Tim Santos and the Santos Agency, but I had to build up my confidence in knowing what I was doing so I can rightfully say, come and see me and I'm going to do the best, right? A business success would be getting to that level where we're super confident in what we do. I know my industry inside and out. We can help anybody, even if it's not helping them. Like Sally said, hey, now's not the time for you to do something different. You need to stay with what you got. But having that confidence to market my name here in Santos Agency on the radio, seeing it in all of the local businesses, being able to sponsor things and have our name on all sorts of things in McHenry has really, truly been my greatest business success.
Those are fantastic. What are some of your greatest client wins or victories?
A quiet win or victory would probably be on the occasion where I've had to maybe win over a client on a recommendation. So in some cases, we have people that will say, you know what, I don't need that coverage, or we have this in place, or I have savings. There has been a couple occasions where those same people, unfortunately, have had heart attacks or cancer or things like that. And I have to reflect with them on our conversation. Hey, remember that extra $30 that I said, God forbid something major happened to you? You maybe pushed back a little bit on that. Aren't you happy about that? Like those things, when I see the recommendation come to life and work, those are wins I can't talk about with people specifically, but we have even very recently had a handful of people where like, hey, remember all this? If you did it on your own, which some of this stuff people are capable of doing, you don't have the access to some of the products that we're recommending to you. So this would have never been on the table had you not come in and saw us. So those types of wins, and some more quieter wins are the respect of some major people and influencers in our community. Me and Sally have worked hard to be, again, respected members of our community and to have that come alive, whether it's working side by side with the mayor or with the president of the school board here, who's become a great friend of ours. Having that respect from our peers as business owners and members of our community has been a nice win for us as well.
I'll try to be brief with the story, but one of the thing that led me here was a particular client that Tim was able to help. And she's a minister's wife and was going through her second bout of cancer. And when Tim came in contact with her, she basically was ready to give up, saying, I cannot afford the treatment and I can't afford the plan either. And he sat down with her and was able to put her into a different solution that she was not currently, that's not the way she was doing her Medicare. And when I was sitting here in the office working from home, she came in and went into the back of his office. She laid down a piece of paper and passed it over to him. And it was a bill. It was her overall bill for her cancer treatment. She said, I'm happy to tell you that I'm in remission. And he was nervous and scared. Oh God, but what does this bill show me? And I can't remember exactly like her out of pocket.
So she was billed over $220,000 for her chemotherapy. She then surprisingly, and trust me, I was sweating at the time because we weren't sure. I was pretty confident in the solution and knew that she was not going to be worse off. She pulled back the paper and she was only responsible for about $2,300. It was super manageable and basically saved her life. I was doing house calls at the time and was sitting at her kitchen table. And she was basically saying, this is my second time with this cancer, and being a religious person was just kind of considering that God was calling her and it was time. And I said, yeah, not on my watch, not if I have anything. If it is your time, it will be your time. But if we can do something, let's see what we can do.
And so she said, I do believe that God brought you to me to save my life. Will you pray with me? And I caught that moment on camera. And that was my first marketing moment here at the Santos Agency. I didn't know it then, but I had to take a picture of that because it was so incredible to me. And that truly is what he does. He comes in contact with people and makes their healthcare possible because they're in the right plan and it does work for them. And I immediately had to be a part of that. That's a huge client when we can help somebody help themselves.
I'm speechless. That is very profound. So who would be your ideal client or referral to work with?
Yeah, so when we think about our current client base, that is where our best referrals come from. So our best referrals come from our current clients because they've experienced us and they know the impact we can make. However, when you think about talking to an audience of people who maybe aren't our clients, I think our best client is willing to work in person and understands that coming in to meet with us is the best way to shop for your insurance because it becomes more than just numbers and you actually have an understanding of who you're working with and you get a better plan because you're able to disclose the information that's required. That's the other piece of it. Insurance is a delicate dance. Shopping for it requires a lot of personal information. We need the client that works well with us is able to trust us and provide the information necessary in order to come and work with us. So understanding our in-person model and that it is a consultative, not a salesy relationship. Is there a sale that occurs? Maybe if it's the right solution for you, but is that the goal? No. The goal is to understand what you need and fulfill that need with your options. So the individual needs to want to work in person and be able to disclose the information necessary so that we can help them. They have to be not have insurance through their employer. So no group plan available to them from a health insurance standpoint and or turning 65 or looking to make a change on their Medicare if they're already 65.
And how do they find you?
So they can pretty much find us anywhere. Of course, we have a website and that's what is it? I'm sorry.
HealthMarkets.com/Santos.
We can be found on Instagram and Facebook as well by agency. And then, of course, McHenry Chamber, Chain of Lakes Chamber. We are big players in both of those. And you probably can find us in a lot of your local establishments in the bathroom because we advertise there as well. But we're right on Green Street in McHenry, so you can find us there almost every day of the week.
And we'll put a link in the show notes of all your contact information. So if anyone wants to click there to get a hold of you, that'll be available as well. Well, thank you, Tim and Sally, and thank you to all the listeners. This has been the Legacy Leaders Podcast. I'm your guest host, Attorney Adam Diamond. My guests today were Tim and Sally Santos. And for more information on HealthMarkets Insurance Santos Agency and the work they do, you can visit their website, which we'll link in the show notes. So Tim and Sally, thank you again for joining me and sharing your incredible journey and the people you help. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Legacy Leaders Podcast with Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller. For more information on them and the show, please visit pinnaclelegacylaw.com. If you like what you've learned today, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.